Welcome back, crafters! Today we're diving into 3 easy DIY projects. Join me as we recreate some classic crafts with a modern farmhouse twist. Hi, my name is Katie from Lady Red Crafting, and let's get started. So I was browsing Hobby Lobby the other day, and I found this Welcome Friends cutout in their wood cutout section. And I thought this would make a beautiful sign. So we're going to start out by painting this with our Waverly chalk paint in the color Moss. And I was pleasantly surprised on how nice this wood cutout was from Hobby Lobby. It was very thick and had a nice wood char on the outside of the letters, making it really easy just to paint the top of the letters. So while that's drying, I'm going to grab this fun blank sign that I found at the Dollar Tree. And I was very impressed with the quality of this sign from the Dollar Tree. And I'm just going to take one of the strings out of the sign and let that hang out. Next, I grabbed a handful of beads and just put them inside a little plastic bowl here. And we added some Waverly chalk paint in the color plaster. Now just a little bit will go a long way. Added some water and took my little paintbrush and just stirred those up. And once those are completely coated, I put on a disposable glove and picked them out of the bowl and laid them out to dry. And I just laid them out on a paper towel because I felt that would be easy to help absorb any of that extra paint. Once the beads are dry, I take the beads and I'm going to go ahead and just string them on the hook for the sign. Let's put everything together. I'm going to take the Welcome Friend sign and position it on the frame of this sign, and we're going to have that elevated right there. So by doing this, I needed to know exactly where to put my glue. So I'm taking a pencil and I'm just going to mark on the frame where the Welcome Friends hits that frame. And this will make it a lot easier to know where to place our glue when we're ready to glue this together. So the glue that I'm going to use is some wood glue that I have from the Dollar Tree, and I'm also going to use a little bit of hot glue. Suggest having some clamps or some clips also, so that way you're able to not have to sit there and hold the sign for too long, because the wood glue does take a little while for it to dry. So I'm using just the basic pink clips from the Dollar Tree, but you can also use clamps, or if you need to, you could just set a book on top just to make sure everything stays into place. Now while that's drying, let's make some embellishments. I'm starting out by making a bow here, and I'm using some ribbon that I got from the fabric store. So to make the double bow, I'm just looping around the bow piece twice on either side, and I don't want a very long tail on this, so you can see that I'm using a very short tail. And for attaching the center, we're using a pipe cleaner. I find that works out really good. It's only about 1/3 of a piece of a pipe cleaner, so it's perfect size. And now I'm just grabbing my scissors and I'll just do a quick dovetail on those tails. Now all that's left is to cover up that pipe cleaner, so I fold a little piece of ribbon into thirds and I hot glue that around the center. And of course, we do a quick little fluff and adjustment, and this bow is complete. Now let's move back to our sign and remove our clips. And now let's put some flowers on this sign. And what I'm going to use here is a lavender stem that I got from the Dollar Tree, and I actually ended up using 2 of these, but I didn't use the full piece on the second one because I wanted 3 little purple pieces going on either side, and one stem comes with 5. So it did leave me with a little bit of leftover for me to do for another project. And to attach these lavender pieces, I'm just going to go ahead and use some hot glue and attach them to the center piece of this sign. And don't worry about it having an opening on the center there, because this is going to leave a perfect spot for that bow we just made. And wow, I really like how this sign turns out. It's one of those simple signs that it gives so much dimension. It's so cute. Let me know what you think in the comments below. So I have to say, I'm not a huge fan of birdhouses. However, my friend Tammy over at Happiness Created has changed my mind. So we're going to start out with a wood birdhouse from the Dollar Tree and some rice paper that I found at Crafty Lure. Now let's put our birdhouse on a paintable surface, and I'm going to use my Waverly chalk paint in the color Agave. And we're going to just paint the birdhouse on the bottom part of the birdhouse. We'll get underneath the roof, but not the top part of the roof. Now once that blue paint has completely dried, I'm grabbing my Folk Art Crackling Medium. And this stuff is amazing. If you haven't tried it yet, I will put a link in my description box below, but I really love how this goes on. So this is a little bit different if you've done the Elmer's glue crackling before. With this medium, you actually paint this over the top of dry paint, and then you let this medium dry completely. And then once it's completely dry, we go over it with another color paint. And I am going over this with my Waverly chalk paint in the color Plaster. And I want this to look more rustic, so I'm using a larger brush, and I'm just brushing this on very lightly over the top of the medium. Let's grab our heat tool and watch the crackling begin. So while we have a moment, let's talk about a fun playlist I'm a part of this month, Recreation Inspiration. And this open challenge is hosted by 6 Kids and a Glue Gun and Crafty Art Shack. Their co-host this month is CJ DIYs. And my inspiration this month is Tammy from Happiness Created. She is passionate about crafting with a knack for turning simple materials into stunning creations. I have linked Tammy and these wonderful hosts in the playlist in my description box below, so please check them out and give them some love. Thank you. We've dried our crackling paint on our birdhouse. Let's start working on the roof. I'm taking the same paint, the Waverly chalk paint in the color Plaster, and I'm just going to do a nice coat of paint on the roof of this house. Now once our paint has completely dried, I grab my straight edge and I'm going to do some quick measurements of the roof of the house. So now I'm going to just trim this rice paper up a little bit, and I want it to be exactly how I would like it, going vertically, but horizontally I'm actually going to leave a little bit of overhang on the house, so I have a way to sand that off to make a really nice edge. Now I'm going to use my hard coat Mod Podge, and I'm just going to paint that on with a foam brush on the top of this roof. And while the Mod Podge is still wet, we're going to go ahead and take the rice paper and lay that right over the top of the roof. Now grab your cling wrap and take a piece and put it over the top of the rice paper. And I'm just using my hands for this, and I'm just going to smooth down the rice paper onto the roof to make sure that everything is secure and that there's no creases. And now slowly remove your cling wrap and let everything dry. Now that everything is dried, I'm taking my Mod Podge again, and we're going to do a coat over the top of the rice paper. Now once our Mod Podge has completely dried, I grab my zip sander, and sanding in a downward motion, I'm going to sand the little bit of overhang off of the sides of our roof. Here's what the house looks like. I think this is so cute, but it's missing one little thing. I think we need to add a bird. So I'm taking a little bit of hot glue, and I'm just gonna hot glue this mini little bird that I got on Amazon, and I'll put a link in my description box below for that. And we're just gonna set him right in the little hole there so he pokes right out. Isn't this birdhouse so darling? I love how this turns out. Let me know what you think in the comments below. So for this next craft, I'm starting out with some scrapbooking paper and a wood plank that I got at the Dollar Tree. And if you're like me, I have a ton of scrapbooking paper. So I just picked one out that would go good with my decor, and I'm flipping it over and I'm going to trace the back side of this plank onto that piece of paper. And we're going to trim this piece of paper up a little bit smaller than the plank because we want to see the wood when we're done with this piece of paper. If you don't have scrapbooking paper, you could try using tissue paper or a paper napkin. I wanted more of a rustic edge on my piece of paper, so what I'm doing here is I'm taking some water and I'm just paintbrushing it on the edge of the piece of paper and lightly tearing the paper. And this gives a nice little edge on our piece of paper. And once that's complete, I do a quick fit check on our plank just to make sure everything's going to fit nice. Now let's grab our plank and place it on a paintable surface. And the color paint I'm going to use is called Sage Shadow, and it's by Folk Art Home Decor Chalk. To get the color I wanted, I did have to do 2 coats of paint on this plaque. While we have the paint out, let's paint one more item. I have this Believe cutout that I got from the Dollar Tree in a 2-pack. And I'm going to use my Waverly chalk paint in the color Plaster, and I'm going to do a nice coat of paint on this sign. One of the tricks that I like to do is to tape this down with my painter's tape, and this allows for me not to have to hold the piece while I'm painting it, which keeps my fingers a lot cleaner. So let's go back to our scrapbooking paper. I grab out some chocolate colored ink, and we're going to take that and just rub the torn pieces of paper over the top of the ink. And what this will do is give this a nice rustic look on our paper. I'm going to repeat this technique on our Believe sign as well. So we're just going to rub the sign on the edge of the letters and just add that little bit of ink. And this gives such good dimension on our little sign. Let's put this all together. I grab a glue stick and I'm just going to go ahead and glue the piece of scrapbooking paper to the center of our plank. Now, to make sure that there's no air bubbles or anything, I do use my little roller and I just roll that over the top. Now let's go ahead and attach this Believe sign to our sign. And I'm using hot glue for this, and I'm just going to hot glue the backside of the Believe and just set that right in the center of our scrapbooking paper. And that's all there is to it. This simple little sign is all ready to display. I would really love to hear from you today. Please let me know in the comments below which one of these projects were your favorite. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate each and every one of you. If you enjoyed this content today, please hit that subscribe or like button below. And if you'd like to see some more crafts, just click on this next video. As always, please remember, craft more, stress less.